So it's been very clear for a very long time that the ZOS developers do not play or understand their own game. They just don't. It's been blatantly obvious, and these sets are a great example of this. So let's go ahead and talk about it, and I'll explain why I say that. If this is something that triggers you and you're already down there in the comments, keyboard ninjing at me, that's totally fine. I don't mind at all. Say whatever you want, but I will point out that I want these sets to be good as much, if not more, than you do. I don't want them to do this. So that's why I'm actually bringing this up. They could do a lot better. It wouldn't be very hard. They would have to put in minimal effort, or they could just ask if they honestly just don't know. Skinny Cheeks is someone they work with a lot. They could just ask him. He could probably help them out. They could ask me. I don't think they're going to, but there's plenty of people that they have resources that they could ask, and they could get advice on how to do this better. I will also note that while I want to assume that they're the best out of everyone and that they're doing the best they can, if I assume that they know better than this, then they know how to make better sets than this, then my next thought goes to, well, why did they put these out? Did they just phone it in? Did they not care? Did they not have enough time? And if it's any of those things, take more time. These are self-imposed deadlines, and it's disrespectful to the player base to release sets that are this bad and then just be like, you guys fix them. It's making things unnecessarily hard. If you want to ask us beforehand and have people submit set ideas or something else, or work with Skinny Cheeks or someone else, they could do that. So it's just really hard for me to find a way where it doesn't look really bad on ZeniMax Online Studios, the developers of ESO. So if you've got a problem with this, don't blame me. Let them know how you feel in the forums and online. One of the things about the forums is you can rage in there, but most people who don't play the game don't see that. And what they're really worried about is people that don't play the game seeing that kind of stuff. It's why Gina, reached out to Josh Drive Hayes recently, who's a YouTuber, when he did a video about ESO and was negative about it, is because those are people that don't play ESO that now probably won't play ESO because of his, because of his video, because his community doesn't normally play ESO. That's what they're concerned about. The people that are already playing and complaining in the forums doesn't really do a whole lot. It's quarantined to that area, right? So they don't really worry about it that much. Just keep that in mind. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about these sets. Nobility in Decay, the Necro set. So this is the main one to me, just because I know the Necro probably the best. Although there were a couple of sets where I was like, what? That is like, okay, these guys clearly just don't care, don't know what they're doing, they're phoning it in. But there's clearly something wrong, right? And there's something wrong where you have to be like curious about like what is going on. Okay, so this set provides you with grants Beautiful Corpse, which gives you, while you're in combat and you cast a Bone Tyrant ability, that gives you minor protection, minor resolve for 16 seconds, reducing your damage taken. It just tells you what the buffs do. This can occur once every 20 seconds and is reduced by 2 seconds per Bone Tyrant ability that you have slotted. So in practice, you're never going to have really more than 2 Bone Tyrant abilities slotted, and that's only really if you're a tank. So in theory, you could proc this for 16 seconds, and it has a cooldown of 16 seconds. I will note at the end of that 16 seconds, you have to cast, this is the same deal where you have to cast another, and we'll talk about this later, we have to cast another Bone Tyrant ability right at the end of that cooldown. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a gap in these buffs. So that's weird and a little bit overly cumbersome, and I don't think it doesn't make sense. I think they should just make it automatically proc or something. The last thing it does is it gives you a corpse that you can consume. That this beautiful corpse that it gives you, this buff, I guess you can use that and consume that corpse. So you're looking at 1 corpse every 16 seconds. So if you think about that, with Blast Bones, you can get 1 corpse every 3 seconds, which you should be running on a Necro tank, and certainly on a DPS. So basically everybody but a healer should be running that, and even then sometimes a healer does run that. So you get 1 every 3 seconds versus 1 every, at best, like kind of 16. You could get that lower, but it wouldn't make sense to do. So every 16 seconds versus every 3 with that. Then you have your Spirit Mender, which you can get once every 4 to 8 seconds, depending on which morph you use. And then you have your Bone Armor, which you can get, I think, once every 8 seconds, depending on which, or it could be up to 16 seconds, but at best, every 8 seconds. So you have all these other sources of corpses that are much better than this, and that's not even counting your, like, Skeletal Arcanist or the Archer. So the corpse doesn't really add much. As far as the actual buffs here, minor protection. So it's really weird. Your totem provides you with minor protection, which is a skill in the skill line that you would use to proc this ability. One of like 3 or 4 skills. So that's kind of weird. So you wouldn't want to use that skill with this, but it's a good skill to use, and oftentimes tanks will use it. So that doesn't really make sense. The other place you could get minor protection and actually provide it for you and other people, including the totem, is going to be Circle of Protection. The thing with Circle of Protection, if you're not a tank, then you would actually get a heal from this, a pretty significant. Tanks get it too, but it scales off of your max stats and, or I'm sorry, like your damaging abilities does basically, and your normal healing abilities, not like a tank ability which scales off your max health. Sorry, that's kind of a weird way of saying that, but basically, it's a better skill that would heal for more. It would heal in addition to providing this buff, and would provide it in AoE. The only benefit is that you could move more with this. Doesn't really make any sense. Minor Resolve, if you're a tank and you're in group combat, you're going to get this from a healer's combat prayer. It provides Minor Resolve. If you are not getting it from that healer and for some situation or whatever, usually you would use Resolving Vigor because you're off by yourself, and that's a good single target heal, and that also provides it for 20 seconds. So it provides it for a longer buff time than this does, and it's something you would probably also have on your bar. So basically all the buffs on this from this 5-piece set, you could and probably should get them from some other location, because they would better serve you getting it from those other locations. And there's a few other situations, but basically this 5-piece bonus is useless. That's all there is to it. It just doesn't make any sense. There's no way you could make this make sense. And this is the thing. I said this to Finn last night because someone was talking about these sets on Twitter, and he was like, yeah, make sure to try it out on Monday and let us know what you think. You don't need to try this out. I can look at this and tell you this is a useless set. And they should be able to look at this and know that it's a useless set. And if they can't or don't care to, put their best foot forward on the PTS, then I don't know. It's just it's just perplexing to me. I mean, it's whatever. It's normal at this point, but this is why you see a lot of like end gamers, the people that have a lot of knowledge about the game, mad at the developers, because you're like, do you just not care? Do you not know about the game? Do you not play it? So yeah, it is what it is, but it's just kind of interesting. So this is like the prime example here, and so I just want to make that clear. Hey, just a reminder, if you watched all this feels like Debbie Downer on these sets and everything like that. There's still a lot of really cool changes coming with this new patch, so keep that in mind. Don't let the craziness of these sets taint everything for you. There are still some potentially really cool stuff, and we'll have to see, obviously, how the endless dungeon kind of works out for everybody. But that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.